US President Donald Trump is fighting battles on three fronts: the polls, the courts, and that government shutdown that at this point in time shows no signs of ending. And this week may just prove to be one of the most crucial as far as his presidency is concerned, testing both his power and also his influence in a way. Across America, voters in 4 states, New Jersey, Virginia, California, New York, are currently heading to the polling booths. Now, these elections are likely to reveal not just how Americans feel about their president, but also one that experts say could shape the political landscape heading into next year's midterm elections. While New Jersey and Virginia elect their governors, New York chooses its next mayor. New York City choosing its next mayor. California voters deciding on redrawing their state's electoral map. In fact, Trump has thrown himself into the middle of these contests. On social media, he's been vocal in endorsing candidates, especially in the high-stakes governor races in New Jersey and Virginia. But it's his comments about New York City that have drawn the most attention in a way. Trump lashed out at the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani, warning that federal funding could be cut off if Mamdani wins the mayoral race. And that's a threat that perhaps underscores Trump's combative approach here, even towards America's largest city. But then the elections are just one battle. Another major test coming on Wednesday as the U.S. Supreme Court, where judges will be hearing a challenge to Trump's tariffs on America's key trading partners. The case basically questions whether Trump's use of the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose those tariffs was legal. On social media, Trump has called this one of the most important Supreme Court cases in American history. He argues that the tariffs strengthened the economy and restored America's global standing after decades of what he calls unfair trade. But then economists are saying that those same tariffs have raised costs for American consumers. Trump insists victory in court could cement America's economic dominance, but warns that losing could, in his words, reduce the country to almost third world status. And then there's that third front, the government shutdown. As the standoff between the White House and the congressional Democrats drags on, the shutdown is nearing historic length. If it continues till Wednesday, Trump will oversee the longest government shutdown in American history, with polls showing Americans are increasingly blaming Trump for the gridlock. For Trump, meanwhile, the convergence of these crises, the elections, the Supreme Court case, the shutdown, creating a rather defining week for his presidency. And the question that comes up is, what if Trump loses because a defeat in court, poor results in the polls, or a public backlash over the shutdown could reshape or perhaps even define the course of his second term? Right now, Trump is likely to be betting on the power of his voter base, his instincts, and his political resilience. As the crucial week unfolds, one thing is clear: Donald Trump is fighting on 3 major fronts. Switching gears, let's now tell you how a global fashion giant is facing outrage in France, reportedly under pressure. It has banned childlike sex dolls after a furious backlash, pledging to cooperate fully with the French authorities. Our next report telling you more.
A global online giant faces a storm. Shein, known for selling everything from fast fashion to trending tech, suddenly halted sales of childlike sex dolls after a French outcry.
This is a perfect example of how fast fashion has no limits. We see some really bizarre images being promoted, and I really think we should ask ourselves, is all this really necessary?
That's just even more disgusting. It makes you feel sick about the brand. We already knew that this brand had blood on its hands, and now they're doing something involving child pornography. It's too weird.
French authorities claim these items, crossed a dangerous line, blurring innocence with exploitation. Overnight, Shein's digital shelves were wiped clean. No trace. But the company went further, threatening to reveal the identities of anyone who bought one. French investigators moved fast, demanding Shein to hand over customer names and purchase records. The threat rattled buyers worldwide. Privacy versus public interest collided. Social channels were abuzz with panic. Legal experts debated rights. Paris is warning of strictest action.
Let me be very clear on this. If such conduct is repeated, we would be within our legal right, and I will ask for it, to stop brands' access to the French market.
France's consumer watchdog known as DGCCRF on Saturday said that it spotted the dolls on Shein along with several other pornographic items such as adult-looking sex dolls and reported the matter to the judicial authorities. Under fire, Shein then pulled childlike sex dolls from its marketplace on Sunday. Investigations are now underway against Shein and also rival online retailers AliExpress, Temu and Wish over the sale of sex dolls. Shein is a Singapore-based company. It's also a retailer valued at over $100 billion. It was originally founded in China. It has faced criticism over working conditions at its factories and the environmental impact of its ultra-fast fashion business model. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
On to Pakistan now, where the line between military power and civilian rule has always been thin, and it's about to get even thinner, it seems. Now the country is reportedly pushing through a controversial constitutional amendment, reportedly, that could cement Asim Munir's grip on power, possibly for life. The 27th Amendment, as it's being called, first came to light through a tweet. PPP leader Bilawal Bhutto Zardari revealed that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif had reached out to his party for support on the proposal. The draft reportedly includes provisions related to constitutional courts and the transfer of judges. But what's causing concern is a reference to Article 243 of Pakistan's constitution. Article 243 deals with the command and control of the armed forces, and any change here could redefine who really rules Pakistan. According to analysts, this is the government's way of securing Asim Munir's position and further entrenching the military's dominance over civilian affairs. And that dominance, of course, is nothing new. From Ayub Khan to Pervez Musharraf, Pakistan's history has been one of repeated military interventions and shadow governance. You may recall that earlier this year, Asim Munir was elevated to Field Marshal, becoming only the second army chief to hold that title after Ayub Khan, who had self-appointed himself to it following a coup. The rank of Field Marshal, however, has no constitutional basis. Munir is officially due to retire on November 28 this year. So any amendment to Article 243 now, many say, is really about rewriting the law to keep him in power. The government has not confirmed the move, but Pakistan's Minister of State for Law told Geo News reportedly that Munir's elevation was unprecedented since the 1973 Constitution and needed to be addressed in the constitutional scheme of things. Analysts call that doublespeak, a legal route to entrench military authority. Over the past few months, Asim Munir has quietly become the most powerful man in Pakistan. Its de facto head of state. He has visited the United States 3 times, met President Donald Trump, and weighed in not just on defense issues, but also on foreign policy, even economic planning. In the month of June, Asim Munir had a private lunch with Donald Trump at the White House, the first such meeting ever for a Pakistani military chief without a civilian counterpart. Trump even called him a very important guy in Pakistan, quote unquote. And then came the viral photo, Asim Munir presenting rare earth minerals to Trump with Prime Minister Sharif standing silently in the background. A picture that many say captured Pakistan's real chain of command. Afghan officials have also accused Munir of bypassing the Prime Minister in dealings with Kabul, allegedly stoking tensions along the border. And at home, his iron grip has tightened with a sweeping crackdown on opposition voices. Imran Khan remains jailed, the PTI largely dismantled, and the political opposition silenced. Former Senator Mustafa Nawaz has been quoted as saying that the core aim of the 27th Amendment was to tweak Article 243. Everything else is just noise, quote unquote.
हम समझते हैं कि अगर आईन के आर्टिकल 243 के अंदर तरमीम की जाएगी तो वो सिविलियन सुप्रीमेसी के ऊपर एक कारी ज़र्ब होगी। अभी तक तो हम हाइब्रिड और हाइब्रिड प्लस का निजाम देख रहे हैं, लेकिन ये एक कू होगा कि जिस तहत आईन को मातहत बना दिया जाएगा एस्टैब्लिशमेंट के।
Former US envoy Zamir Khalilzad went further, asking whether it was aimed at ending civilian control of the armed forces altogether. Meanwhile, Pakistani analyst Bakir Sajjad called it a shameless attempt for a power grab, reportedly warning that if the parliament approves it, it would be a full-on betrayal. To pass, in fact, the amendment would need a two-thirds majority in both houses of the parliament, something that would mark a seismic shift in Pakistan's balance of power. India also is watching closely. Asim Munir's tone against New Delhi, remember, has not been forgotten. The Pakistan-sponsored Pahalgam terror attack has not been forgotten, of course. Against this backdrop, any move that consolidates Asim Munir's control under constitutional cover will only make India and the wider world more wary. Is Pakistan's latest amendment an attempt to basically secure its army chief in that position for life and cement military rule in all but name? Only time will tell. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.